Yes, guys, welcome to SFeatleyTv. We're back with a special episode of the Arsenal Talk Show with a very special guest. Let's do this.
Premier League champions 2016, Leicester City.
Hope to see you soon. Well done. Bye bye.
Cazorla, Giroud again. Joe Wilson. Here's Gerrard. That's a great strike. McCracken getting closer. Centre. It's Bergkamp. That's magnificent. Van Persie arriving. Oh, what a goal! What a goal by Robin Van Persie!
Yes, guys, welcome to SFeatleyTv. We're back with another Arsenal Talk Show and time to work on another a special guest. He was back just before the transfer window started, but he's back again now. Joe, the gentleman, Perry, how are you doing, my friend?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Yeah, all good.
Yes, we'll get straight into it, shall we? So, obviously, Arsenal with a fantastic start to the season, only dropped one game against Man United. Still buzzing from last weekend's result against Spurs, obviously. So, but yeah, I'll ask you, how do you feel this season's gone for you to start off with?
Yeah, I think it's. I think every Arsenal fan's got to be delighted, not just with the results, but how they're playing, and like team morale looks good. You know, the big players, the ones we signed, are performing, which is a positive. You know, sometimes it can take a while to settle in, but they seem to have just slotted in perfectly. You know, not just Jesus, because he's sort of Premiership proven. He's been brilliant, but Saliba, you know, we've heard so much about him. We never knew if he was going to be able to cut it in the Premiership, but he's been absolutely head and shoulders, you know, above most players in the league, and I think he's been a real sound addition to the team.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, Saliba has been an absolute wonder. I've already said that after the North London derby, he's got the ceiling to be on the level of Tony Adams and Sol Campbell if he stays at the club on a long-term deal. And Arsenal are working on a contract to make sure he stays. Whatever he wants, I'd pay it like at the minute because he's that good. And to be fair, we thought Gabriel was decent, but he's actually making Gabriel look average compared to himself.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, you're looking for a weakness on the. You're always looking to sort of improve and strengthen, and you know, you look at the team now, and you wouldn't have thought like 12 months ago you'd be saying, well, one position we could maybe strengthen would be like someone alongside Saliba, because Gabriel at the minute, as though I really, really like him, you know, I want him to stay, but he seems to have a mistake in him, whereas the others just look absolutely tuned in and like absolutely perfect, really. So I'm not saying Gabriel's weak, but you know, if he's your weakest player on the pitch, then you've got a pretty good side out there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like Zinchenko, who's coming from Man City, like he's been performing well, and it's a real. Some people I feel forget of how good also Tierney is. Probably because of the injuries he keeps getting, but like to be fair, you could either put Zinchenko on the left or Tierney on the left. You've got a pretty sound left back role entirely. I think the right back position is quite questionable.
Yeah, but we've been pretty solid down that side of the pitch. You know, Saka comes back and helps out. Ben White is a quality defender. He hasn't got the legs of, you know, a proper sort of right wing back type thing, but he does all right going forward. You know, he provides a bit of support down that side, and like I say, sound defender. So for set pieces and things like that, it's always good to have three centre backs, especially if they're fluid, like our three seem to be.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Ben White, I've been very critical of last season because some of the mistakes he's made coming into the side. But I think last few games he's been absolutely solid. And especially how he dealt with Son and Kane in the North London derby was quite a highlighted performance in my opinion. So I thought that was going to be one of the areas we get exposed in that game. But yeah, that's I can't fault him for that at all. So big up, Mike. How you doing, my friend? Make sure that everyone that's tuning in get your questions in. Make sure you hit the like button and subscribe. Yeah, but obviously last time we spoke, we were talking about the transfer window coming up and reflecting on what was a poor end to the season. But how do you feel as like Arsenal's transfer window? Obviously, we talked about Zinchenko, Jesus. Obviously, is another one that's come in that's hit the ground running. What have you made of the transfer window?
Yeah, I think it was very good because our last few windows, even though we've signed players, we've signed players that are they going to go in the first team? Are they better than what we've got already? But this time round, we signed players which were straight into the first team, better than anything we've got. And also, like what he's done, he's sort of like rebalanced the side. He's if Partey stays fit, we've basically got a new superstar midfielder in Xhaka. He's turned into a proper player now. And I've always been, I'm not, saying I'm the know too much about football, but I've always really liked Xhaka. I just felt that there was too much on him. He didn't have the discipline to play that holding role. But now now we're seeing the best of him. He's got a bit more license to push up the pitch. Partey's got the responsibility. So he's sort of rebalanced the side, really. It's just meant that the players we have got can play how they want to play. And like I say, Jesus and Zinchenko slotted straight in. Saliba's slotted straight in. And we've got that bit of depth now. Maybe we can't afford to lose a couple of players through injury, especially on the wide players. Maybe Zinchenko could cover for Martinelli, and put Tierney at left back. We've got that side, but the other side maybe. So we still got to be a bit lucky with injuries, I think. But it's definitely, there is serious progress going on at Arsenal. In all areas of the pitch, we're looking stronger and stronger. But again, it takes time to build a proper squad. And we are still one or two injuries away. You do worry if Jesus, anything happens to him. But I suppose every club can say that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like for me, Nketiah is completely on it. He's nowhere near the level that I'd say we need up front compared to Jesus. Probably that's why if we're going to play like in the Europa League, the first game we played a front three, which gave Nketiah the support he needed in a sense. So if Jesus does end up injured, it might have to switch the system to help Nketiah so it doesn't become isolated. He just doesn't have the movement. If you see Jesus, his movement off the ball is quality.
I think when you get a world-class player in your side, it does show up the sort of lack, what the other players lack, because they do stand out. And Jesus is that person. But, it's never a good thing, I don't think, being in the Europa League as opposed to Champions League. But you just wonder whether it might well be that for Arsenal this year because, we couldn't afford to play our second string in the Champions League this year. We would have been found out massively. So we probably can still do that this season to a certain extent. So keep the key players fit for the league games, let the fringe players play in the Europa League until the latter stages. So it could end up being a blessing in disguise, really, going forward.
Yeah, I mean, like the latter stages obviously is where I think you have to decide whether he wants to go to Europe. I think for me, then we'll probably maybe be dropping off a little bit from the top of the table. I've already said, for me, I don't think we need investment in January to get top four. I think we're good enough to get top four because when we've had injuries like Partey and Zinchenko out, we've managed to cope pretty well with what we've got. So I think the one problem was Man United. Obviously, we didn't have Partey there. Otherwise, it might have been a different story. But usually we've not done too bad with those injuries. So I still think without buying anyone in January, I think we'll still get top four because that's sort of realistically what I'm looking at. Because if we looked at last season, their reason for not buying anyone in January is because we spent so much in the summer. So, and plus they wanted to fill out the squad. But this season, I feel that it's the same story. But this time we're in a much stronger position this time, and we've got. I mean, we've got Liverpool coming up, and like, if we don't, I mean, at home, the Emirates, what are you expecting with Liverpool? Because we should be getting that result.
Well, it's, you know, they still are. They're out of form. There's no doubt about it. You know, they're not the Liverpool we've seen the last couple of years, but
yeah,
they're still a tremendous outfit, and I think that will give us a better idea of sort of where we are. I don't, even though beating Tottenham is wonderful, but we beat them, you know, throughout the years, even when we've been in a real slump. You know, I don't think we should set our sights on Tottenham, even though they have finished above us a couple of times. But
usually I'm not worried about Tottenham finish.
I don't think that's our benchmark, really. I think, you know, this will give us a better idea, because I think Liverpool and Man City are sort of the two standout sides in the league. They have been for a few years now, and like you say, if ever there was a time for us to beat them, this is it. You know, they're out of form. We couldn't be any better, really, in terms of like confidence and playing wise. So yeah, it will be a real like dent in our sort of season if we come unstuck on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, for me, even if we didn't get a result, I mean, maybe even we dropped the 2 points, I'm not gonna absolutely go like mad about it, because as long as we bounce back in the next game and keep the momentum going, which is what we did against Man United, against Brentford. Obviously we had the postponement in the next for the next game, which but I think if we do drop points, and I think we'll still be able to bounce back and just continue what we're doing. And that's the main thing. I think we need to focus on ourselves.
Because, you know, we lost to United, but the performance was really good. You know, on another day, a couple of little things go our way, we win that game. We played better than they did. We just didn't get the result. Arteta went gung-ho too early, maybe, but it didn't stop the momentum, because we did play well and we sort of bounced straight back. So I think again, if that does happen on Sunday, hopefully not, but as long as we keep that confidence and high spirits, then I think we can just keep pushing on.
I think with the Man United game, like for me, I said that Arteta, he was too late, and that 2-1 down was then when he started to make changes. That's the annoying thing for me. Yeah, like that's one of the key things that I kept saying last evening. He was being reactive. Was in the Tottenham game, he knew. So instead of risking playing him the whole 90 minutes, would take him off. So I think he's gradually learning like the active and see the problem was coming. He didn't react enough to respond to them. Still, he managed to pick him up, which I think it was away as well, which I believe. So, and in the end, like though they've been playing well, it was a comfortable win in the end. So, and that's the same with Crystal Palace at the start of the season. So these places that we've been going last season and not getting results, he's now winning the games that we should be winning. And I've already said that.
He's learning. He's definitely learning on the job.
Yeah, if we don't get top, if we don't like get massive results from the big six, like as they call them, right, and just get results from every other team that we're playing from, we still would end up fourth anyway. Because like if you looked at everyone else, they're like Chelsea have dropped points. Liverpool have dropped points.
Well. They all drop points. They beat each other. But you know, obviously fourth is the big target this year. I think we can finish higher than that. I think we can definitely get third at least. But you have to start beating these sides. You can't keep letting them feel that they're like they're better than you, they're bigger than you. We got to sort of level it up a little bit, And I don't see we can't do that with any of the other sides apart from possibly Man City, because they do look like on another planet at the minute.
Well, they've got that goal machine up front, so it's I just call him. Yeah, and what's clever about him is that he's not going to the World Cup as well. So
no, I know, it's going to work in his favour. Well, you say it probably will work in his favour, but he's going to have like a month or whatever it is with no football, so he could dry up a little bit, but doesn't look like it, does it? They create so many chances. He's an unbelievable finisher. So,
and they're saying he's not even clicked yet. So if he's not clicked yet,
much better than that, but.
Like if he's not clicked yet and he's saying he can get better, God knows what we're expecting. So but like I think all in all, that that's probably the reason why I said we're not going to be competing for the title like that this season, because I know some people have come out with that, and I think it's like, all right, we've done well, mate, but
nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with going for the title, because
no, of course not.
If we finish second, then that's an unbelievable season. But I think it's dangerous to say we want to finish fourth, because if you just miss out on fourth like we did last year, you're fifth, which is no good. So we just miss out on the title, we're second. That's got to be
absolutely.
where we are.
I mean, like I said, it's that if people like think that we can go for the title, and trust me, as long as we're winning games, I'm going to keep riding that fact. Right? For me, I've already said countless times before, like my standard for this club has been, when growing up, we like challenged for a title with Man United to about April, May, somewhere around that. Not till February. So if we were able to do that, then I'll easily come out and said, look, I got it wrong. I thought Arteta wouldn't have been able to do it, and he has done. So, but I still think that'll probably need another season, and obviously Champions League football to get the bigger players in and to create more squad depth, because you can clearly see, like with Liverpool have even gone close to Man City on a few occasions. They've only been able to topple them once with the squad they've got, which is, if you take one or two injuries out, which they've done this season, their midfield three was, for example, playing with kids for the start of the season because of injuries. So we're kind of like in the same boat at the minute, where we've got a good side for a starting 11, but in terms of depth, we haven't got much squad like depth.
No, we've got a few positions covered. We've got a few. If a few slip out, we can like slot someone in, but not every position. But I just, all right, we all want everything now, don't we? It's just the modern society. We want it today. We don't want it like tomorrow. We want it today. But you look at. I think Man City will just keep rebuilding because they've got enough money to keep doing it. But if you look at our squad, it's incredible, really, when you think we're competing with every team in the league basically, and most of our players, bar one or two, are like under 24, under 25 years of age. Where you look at the big two are Man City and Liverpool. Their best players are they're one, maybe 2 seasons left in them. So this team is still developing, and Saka's only going to get better. You've got Smith Rowe, Martinelli, all these people, Saliba. They're so young. They've still got 2 or 3 years till they're probably even close to their peak.
I feel it's and obviously you mentioned Saka, who's been named England's Player of the Year for 21-22, which is an achievement for him. I feel the last few, like the start of the season, I don't think he's been as good as he has been. For me, I think a few games he's been quiet.
But I think there's. Like,
what do you think of that?
Well, I think he's absolutely brilliant, and I like the balance he gives the side. But I just think now he's the big marquee player in our team. He has been for a sort of year or so. Defenses go set up their side to stop Saka, and I think that's making Martinelli's job that much easier, and he is just like on fire.
Yeah.
And he's explosive, he's quick, he's aggressive.
What I love about Martinelli is that he just doesn't, like you said, he just doesn't stop. He will just keep going.
It must be
going.
horrible for his opposing fullback. It must just be a nightmare. But I think the fact that teams are so wary of Saka, it's like we're playing a lot down the side for Martinelli now, down the left, because I think they are aware that they're doubling up on Saka because they have to.
Yeah.
And it's just, and I think that's just credit to the whole team, really. Saka's done his job. He's a marked man now, and it opens up the other side of the pitch. We haven't got to just everything's got to go through Saka anymore. We can go left or right or down the middle, so it's perfect for us.
I think that's where he needs that. This is what I've said. Like he needs, if we're bringing a right back, we need someone who can also go forward and overlap to give him that assistance. Because when you got someone that overlaps, he then gets the space he needs to then either cut inside or go down to the byline.
But Saka's not doing bad. He's probably not. He isn't.
Oh no, I'm not saying
turning in the numbers he has done, but that's because, like I say, it's not everything's going through him now. Once upon a time, if Saka didn't create nothing, we didn't create nothing. But that's not the case now. But his numbers are still up. He's still providing assists. He's still chipping in with the odd goal, and that's all you want really. When you've got a number 9 that's scoring most games, if you can pick a few goals up elsewhere in the team, then that's absolutely fine by me.
Exactly, and it's just again a testament to how good the squad is at the minute. So I think, like what you mentioned about, obviously everyone wants it now, which I can agree with to an extent. The only reason I'd say we need to not be taking too much time over it is because if we take too long trying to climb up towards challenging for the league, eventually Saka, the younger players will start getting older and they think, well, should I risk staying at Arsenal and maybe getting it, or should I go to Klopp's Liverpool or Pep's Man City, where
to keep these young players hungry and keep them
because Liverpool and Man City, look at them.
We've got to give them something. Yeah, we've got to give them Champions League. Got to give them medal. Otherwise, we don't want them all to turn into Harry Kane, do we? Like great player and win nothing.
I've got a stick of Tottenham in there, love it. But yeah, I mean, like you said, I mean, you've got Liverpool, Man City, are looking at them, which shows how good they are as a long-term option. So it will get to a point like we saw with Nasri and Fabregas and that, where they said, well, maybe not Nasri, but Fabregas. Fabregas, in a sense,
when
he was like, he had to go.
You can't see it, as an Arsenal fan, you think, oh, well, just stay there, you're earning fortunes. But, at the end of the day, these kids, I know what it's like. They want
to be remembered for winning stuff.
You've got ambition, and the money's lovely. But at the end of the day, for them footballers, once they're get first team at Arsenal, the money's irrelevant because they know they're going to earn lots of money wherever they go. So the money's not really an issue. It's they want, at the end of their career, they want to turn around.
They want to be remembered.
3 league titles, I want a champion, this, that, and the other. So, you can't blame them. But like you say, you've got to give them something to make them want to stay around and see the whole thing through.
Yeah, that's why I mean, like I was disappointed last season not getting top 4, in a sense as well, because they deserved that after what they've done, being able to come in and save our bacon when the top players wasn't. But it's like you said,
they've been sold the dream from Arteta, and I think the transfer window would have helped people like Saka and people like that. See people like Jesus and Zinchenko coming through the door. It's gonna sort of help them to believe what they're being told by the manager, and if that continues, then they look like they're enjoying themselves, and they look like they're one real good solid unit. So, like you say, give them a little bit of something. The next step. Give them Champions League football next year. Maybe pick up a trophy this year. It just keeps them hungry and keeps the dream alive for them.
Exactly. I mean, like I said, as like we said as well, is that these players will want to be remembered for winning trophies in the end. Otherwise, you end up pretty much like a Spurs player. To be honest,
absolutely.
You do really, really well, but you don't get remembered for anything. Unless you're a Spurs fan, that's the only time you remember them. So when they drag a player up from the past, you're like,
Yeah.
But yeah. So I mean, like, so yeah. So like, we need to sort of make sure that we get some. I'd like to see us. I think we can get top 4 quite easily, and then I'd like to see us try and go for something like the Europa League. The
Yeah, I
FA
think
Cup,
so.
I think is
I think
the FA Cup we've
it's gonna be
won so many
important. I
times.
think keeping the consistency in the league is going to be very important to how we approach the Europa League. You know, if we can
Yeah,
sort of cement our position, sort of give ourselves, you know, every chance of finishing at least 4th, then I think we can start rotating a little bit towards the end of the season. But if it's going to be touch and go again, you know, what do you do? Because that Europa League only takes one bad night and you're gone, like we saw last year. You know, so I think all focus should be on the league at the minute. Let the reserves play get us through the group stages and stuff, and then
oh yeah,
see
it
where we
gives them
are
the
in
minutes they
February.
need.
See where we are in February, March time, and then see if we can go full throttle for like the Europa League.
I mean, obviously it gives also like the second team a chance to get some minutes in as well. I actually asked something about Marquinhos, who's got his first goal in Europa League. What have you made of him?
So I'll be honest, I haven't seen a lot of him. I did watch the Europa League game, and again, he looks, you know, hungry. He looks quick. He looks strong. He looks pretty direct, which is I always like that in a winger. I don't like to see wingers just keep checking and cutting back inside, giving the ball to the midfielders. I like to see him. You know, I would like to see him have a go. You know, so you know, I'm all for making a few mistakes and losing the ball a few times, but you know, ultimately, you want him to sort of create and have a go, and he looks that sort of player. So I think there's definitely more to come from him. I don't think we'll see too much of him this year. Well, I hope we don't, because that means like we've got an injury to one of the key players. So you know, hopefully just bed him in. Like we've had Martinelli a few seasons. You know, he's been there on the fringes, playing a game here and there, and you know he's come back now and he looks different class. So if he can do the same sort of thing with him, then we've got a play on our hands.
Haaland's been off in games if you watch him, but he's got 14 goals and 3 assists and 8. Yeah, the guy is just the battle. I mean, like I thought the major battle last weekend would be between Kane and Saliba, right? But actually, it turned out too bloody easy. I think he had Son, Richarlison, and Kane all buried in his pocket, so like he'd have to.
Yeah, I always see Son. I know Kane always scores against Arsenal and he scores against most teams, but I always see Son as the danger man for Spurs.
Yeah, I've
if you
always
keep
said
it
that.
quiet, especially now Kane, he has got a bit older. He does drop off a lot now. You know, he's not that. I don't think he's as dangerous as he once was. Obviously, you don't want him shooting too many times because he's pretty lethal. But I always think if you can keep Son quiet, you've got a great chance of beating Spurs.
Yeah, Eugene, how you doing, mate? Like, how was your weekend as a Spurs fan? Trust me, I'll be giving him stick all week. I'm on his show actually later at 2:30, so no doubt I'm going to give him stick as well. So that'll be fun. A load of Tottenham fans and one Arsenal fan, love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think. The thing when we play Man City, I'd love to see the battle between Haaland and Saliba.
I think we've had a bit of a result actually. To be honest, like the game getting cancelled till later on in the season.
I tend to differ with that.
Yeah, you think you'd rather play them now? I'm not.
Yeah,
I
because
think they're absolutely red hot at the minute. I think after the World Cup or whenever it may be, I think
the reason I say that. Sorry, the reason I say that is because they've said themselves they're not fully like telepathically clicking, if you know what I mean. They're not in full flow yet. So apparently from what they're saying. So if that's the case, then I mean you've got to play them at some point.
But
why
I think
not? Why not
always start the league really, really well. You know, they tend to sort of just drop off a little bit. I think like as the Champions League hots up, they've got a pretty cushy group. You know, they're not going to have to like go full out for 90 minutes tonight, so they'll still be at full strength at the weekend.
To be sorry, to be fair, I've always like the last couple of seasons. It's been about this time where they get a few draws or something like that, or defeat, and then about December time, once the Champions League's over, they go on a massive run of games and like sort of seal the title from there. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see how they approach.
Well, I don't think anyone really knows. I think all the history books and all that, the last sort of God knows how many Premier Leagues, I think it's all sort of ripped up a bit this year with the World Cup, because no one knows how that's going to affect players when they come back, depending on how well they get on and how, I think it could play a big part in how the season pans out, is who does what in the World Cup.
Yeah. I was going to be doing a Champions League watching on tonight, actually. I thought, because obviously even the chest infection I had, I wasn't too sure I was going to be able to do today, to be fair. So I'll definitely give it a miss. Also, I think the Arsenal Gossip Column is also tonight as well, but I think I'll skip that till next week. So obviously, trying to make sure I clear this chest infection, so I feel in tip-top shape. Yeah, if you haven't done already, please do hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, get your questions in as well. We really appreciate it. I mean, if you had to put your money on it, where would you think Arsenal would finish? And what results could you expect to like in terms of what you would expect?
Well, I'll be honest, I really like Graham Potter as a manager, and I was sort of half hoping that Southgate would sort of step down after the World Cup if we don't do any good, and he would take the England job, but that's not going to happen now. And I think Chelsea have had a shrewd move getting him in. I think we would have definitely finished above Chelsea if Tuchel, whatever his name is, had stayed. So I think Chelsea are going to improve. I don't think Tottenham are a problem this year, not just because we beat them the weekend. I just think they're just too negative, too defensive. They're too reliant on one or two players.
That's surprising.
Liverpool will improve. So I think top four, and I think we could edge Chelsea just because of the start we've had. But I think you're looking at sort of Man City, Arsenal, or Liverpool, and then Chelsea in fourth is what I think.
Yeah, I think we can get top three, maybe even second. Like the way we're playing. I mean, that's very early to say.
Well, it is, but we're almost a quarter of the way through the season, really. We've already played 7-8 games, so we're getting to like a quarter of the season. It's still early, but it's quite a lot.
I mean, for me, I try not to try and like go absolutely overhyping it, but for me, the way what I'm seeing right now, if we continue on as well as we are and avoid key injuries like we have been doing, I think top three is a definite we could get.
Yeah, I just think we're scoring goals this year. So the games where we have slipped up in the past, like your Southamptons, your Brightons, where we've struggled to put the ball in the net.
Yeah.
Okay, we will still probably get a few noughts this year. We will go a few games where we don't score sometimes, but in general, we're going to score most games, and sometimes it's the odd goal. And that's
even when they played
but Tottenham kept finishing fourth. They were rubbish, but they had Kane or Son that just popped up with an important goal at some stage to get them 3 points. And I think we've got the players now and the style that can do that. So then tight games, we can just nick that goal, nick them 3 points.
It's very surprising for me, because last season, if you saw Tottenham last season, they were playing quite well to kind of Pippers. So it's quite surprising with all the players they brought in that they're playing so negatively anyway. But for me, I'd like to see us get into top three and top four, and then see if we can't try and win the Europa League for once. I think the FA Cup for me, if we can win that'd be great for a 15th time. But for me, we haven't won a European trophy in so many years.
Yeah,
and it really proved me
over the FA Cup this year.
Yeah,
it gives you Champions League. It just, like you say, I think it just sends a message out, that we're sort of
we're serious.
We're back, we're getting better, we're building, we're getting back to where we were. Yeah, because as lovely as the FA Cup is, we've won it so many times. We won it when we've been useless. So I think the Europa League sends out a better message, I think.
Yeah, I already told you earlier, Stephen. We have an agreement to share the 3 points. Oh yeah, he thinks that like we have an agreement that Arsenal beat Tottenham at the Emirates, and then we go to White Hart Lane and get spanked. Well,
Well,
that's not going to happen this season.
That happened last year, but it couldn't have worked out better for Tottenham in terms of the timing. I think
that was always going to be a rearrange for that.
Yeah, they're going to have to go some to get 3 points this time, I think.
Yeah, to be fair, the way we're playing at the minute, mate, and the way Tottenham are playing, you'd have to have a major overhaul in what you're doing at the minute. Because at the minute, what you're doing, you're getting results, but not convincingly, right? Yeah. Which is why maybe I was on this show trying to be realistic in terms of what how threatening they can be. But then, to be fair, I probably should have been my usual bias. Usually, I go really biased and said, I don't care how bad we are, we're beating you, and that's the end of it. But to be fair, they were that poor. Yeah, it was very surprising.
We give them, it was a stonewall penalty. There's no getting away from that. But
especially with Conte,
we should have cleared that ball, and it was just a gift, really, the penalty. It was. But it was just a very easy game. If it wasn't Tottenham, you'd think you was playing just a mid-table side trying to sort of keep the score down. It was the fact that it was Tottenham made it better, but they didn't look like it was supposed to be first versus third. It didn't look like that at all.
To be fair, once Emerson, made his royal exit,
well on top way before that.
We were
game over.
I think someone on Sky Sports saying the second half they came out better at Tottenham. And I'm like, what game were you watching?
Yeah,
honestly, I think it was Warnock or something like that. Who came up, Stephen Warnock or something on Sky, and I'm like, maybe you got glasses on. I think you might need to get a Specsavers. So I don't know what you were watching because we came out in the second half and actually dominated them. And once Emerson made his royal exit from the Emirates for an early bath, it was like toying with them. It was like what Man City were doing to us at the start of last season, which is, should we go 5-0 or should we go 10-0? What should we do? And in the end, Arteta, to be fair, knew he had the Europa League coming up. He has Liverpool coming up, so he wants to keep the team fresh.
It would have been nice to get another couple and really.
Yeah, I think for me,
but he's. I don't think he's that sort of person. Obviously he wants to win. He's got a massive heart and will to win, but so he sort of preserved the players, the ones that were coming back from injury, Partey and that. He's done the right thing, and he's a squad manager.
Yeah, for me, the one thing I would like. I think sometimes, I would like to see us do an absolute, when we play a team, actually destroy them if we have the chance.
Yeah.
But if we've got 1 week to the next game, then fine. It was probably quite surprising why Tottenham, after the sending off, shut up shop. But then for Conte, I know it's a North London derby, and he probably gets why it's a North London derby. But, and we had this debate on Monday, if it means that you end up with a knackered squad for Tuesday Champions League and then an absolute knackered squad for a couple of weeks after, which ends up with more injuries, it's not going to be beneficial for a game where you're 2 goals down and Arsenal are already dominate the game. And
I think Conte done the right thing, really. He saved a bit of pride.
As much as it's a North London derby, and you don't want to give up.
No, well, he did give up. He settled for a 3-1 defeat, and he put the players on to make sure it didn't get any worse than that. And he took off his players that he wanted to play to see out a 0-0 draw last night. So it was job done for Conte. He loves getting a clean sheet. You just couldn't watch that. I know there are rivals and stuff, but I'm a football fan at the end of the day. And it's I don't know what any football fan, whether it's Tottenham, Arsenal, whatever. At the end of the day, you watch football because you love it, and Tottenham they're just boring at the minute. They're that desperate to win something, but you're not going to win nothing like that. I don't think any teams.
It only works.
Since I've been into football, I've not seen any teams play like that and win apart from Mourinho's Chelsea. But but they scored a lot of goals as well. So
it only works if you're like it only works when you got something like George Graham, where
but that's a long
it
time
only
ago.
works when you're
Changed
winning.
a lot since then. Yeah.
It only works when you're winning, and unfortunately, in today's football, unless it's very rare, like you are getting results, and you're still winning trophies with it. Unless you're not doing that, it's not going to work. So
there's not many teams can pull that off anymore. It's the game's changed a little bit since them days.
that's why Mourinho was found out at Tottenham. That's why.
I think so.
Yeah, but please click on the like button, subscribe. Thanks. So, Joe, was doing a watch along till 5 a.m. my time, and had to suffer. So I know it's off topic, but how many? Like obviously, how's the? I wanted to how's the snooker coming along, and like Colonel, what you should answer this question.
The season's sort of like it's been a bit stop-start. Snooker's changed a lot since COVID. To this time of year, we're normally sort of backwards and forwards to China and Asia. So obviously that's not happening at the moment. So we've got quite a few gaps in the calendar. So we have had a couple of tournaments, one last week, but it sort of starts to sort of hot up a little bit now. We start to sort of play a lot more regular. We got more tournaments we've got to qualify for that are played towards the back end of this year. So yeah, just started really sort of knuckling down now, trying to get some practice in. The answer to the question, when I was a bit younger, like when I was like felt I was really like into it and still had lots of ambition and stuff, I'd be doing anything between sort of 3 and 6 hours a day, sort of 6 days a week.
Wow.
As well as like trying to keep yourself in shape, fitness, doing other stuff. But now I'm sort of coming to the sort of twilight, really, if you like, So I try my hardest to do sort of minimum 2, maybe push it up to 3, sometimes 4 hours if I'm playing with someone else. Like I've got a practice match tomorrow with another professional, Alexander Ersenbacher. So we'll have a few sets. We'll probably play like 4.5 hours, whereas like today I'll probably just practice a couple of hours on my own, and then again on Friday. So it's I think the younger ones, like you look at the ones that are doing the business, the ones that are coming through, the young Chinese players, they'll be in their club sort of doing anything between sort of 5 and 8 hours a day, I should imagine.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I remember when sometimes I go to with friends, go to a local snooker hall, and obviously, like the club tables are not like the match tables. In terms of like the club tables got like buckets compared to the match tables. Thank God, like because I'd never score one. It can obviously physically it can be quite demanding as well. Especially if you're not.
It's not physical, as in you don't come off the table like dripping in sweat and like bones, but you do have to sort of. I've got an ongoing back problem. I got diagnosed with it a few years ago, and that's all to do with like the sort of the weird shape I've been standing in for like 4 or 5 hours a day for the last 30 years, and it does take a toll on you. And the other thing about like sport, it's not always running around 100 mile an hour. Sometimes to concentrate for long periods of time is quite difficult. You can. A lot of people.
It's more mental. It's more mental game.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, a lot of people. You can get yourself into decent physical fitness shape by working out and exercise, but to sort of like to sit down and actually practice or concentrate properly for 3 hours is quite draining. At the end of the day, when you've had a real tough practice session, you are sort of knackered. It's, like I say, your bones are not aching. You don't need like an ice bath or a massage, but you are shattered, because it takes a lot out of you to really concentrate for 3-4 hours a day. Because
you always got to think about like what you're doing 3, 4, like 5 shots ahead.
Yeah, and
sometimes
it's a battle,
and then
it's
about potting it, and then
you can't afford to switch off, and it's the way the game is now, the standard's so high. One slight error can be loss of frame. Well, a lot of the times it is. I played lost to Ding Junhui last week in the British Open, and I
Yeah.
missed 2 balls that I should have potted, and that was basically the difference between like winning 4-1 and losing 4-1. I missed 2 pots, and you know he missed a couple, but he didn't leave nothing as a result. I missed 2, left him in, and that's it. Bang, 4-1 all over. So you have got to really, really concentrate at all times. So yeah, it's what it is. But you know,
that's the thing is like when I've practiced as well, and like I mean for me, like most of my friends are busy now doing whatever they can. Obviously, not being well myself, this is all I can do. So most of my day is quite free. So like I mean, it's not like towards the level. My mum's never really good. That never been good as maybe as myself at snooker or pool, but I mean for a pool table, I know someone who's an ex-England pro who used to teach us about how to take the spin and to another level and that. So he taught us that on a pool table, and then obviously trying to do that to a snooker table is quite different. And
the sports are there's a lot of similarities. Obviously, you've got a cue and you hit a steel ball, but I think that's where it ends. The pool balls are smaller, the cue ball's smaller on a pool table. It's a different kind of cue action needed to hit a pool ball as opposed to a snooker ball. But there's a lot of similarities, obviously. You know, I suppose it's like trying to compare archery and rifle shooting. You know, there's similarities, but they're worlds apart, really.
Yeah, for me, like when I've played, it's like it's usually so I can only think about maybe 1 or 2 ahead on what I like to do, but with my shot, but you more try and focus about trying to pot the ball anyway, because and then obviously because usually when you start thinking about 3 or 4 shots ahead, it's so easy to then just miss on what you're actually hitting in the first.
You're worried about what's going to happen next instead of what you're doing at the minute. There's lots of elements to it.
Yeah, so I mean, like, what's the one thing I'd love to obviously answer and ask, and I've watched the snooker championships. I've always been tempted to go the World Championship. What's it like playing at the Crucible in Sheffield?
For a snooker player, it's probably like playing football at Wembley. You know, it's when we grow up, like dream about being a snooker player. You see the Crucible on the telly, and you want to play there one day, and when you actually get there, it's everything you imagined it was. You know, it's the best place to play snooker. There's other great venues we play, like Ali Pali Masters is amazing, but it's a totally different atmosphere. You know, it's a bit more sort of raucous. It's London crowd, so a lot of them are there just, you know, for the night out. But the World Championship, you know it's the World Championship. It's like you can literally, I know it's a cliche, but you can hear a pin drop, and the atmosphere is just, even though there's hardly any noise, the atmosphere is just so intense. And because of the way the arena's set up, like as you're walking back to your chair after potting a ball, you could literally like high five the whole of the front row. You know, they're right there.
Yeah, they're right there
next to you. So
it's kind of like hybrid. It's kind of like hybrid, isn't it?
They're
right on top
really, really special atmosphere. And the thing with the World Championship, I think more than any other sort of venue we play, is they're really like keen, hot on it, like snooker fans. So they understand what's going on. They understand all the little intricacies throughout the game and the little bits that happen. Whereas a lot of the venues, people just go because they love watching snooker. They want to watch snooker. They don't really get it. But like the World Championship, it just seems like everyone is so tuned in and understands what's going on out there.
Yeah, for me, like I've watched the Masters and both the World and the UK, and obviously the Crucible. You've seen how good it is despite the size. Is there? Obviously, there've been like talks about maybe even moving it because of the size of it. Is there any? Do you think they could possibly expand the thing, or do they think it's something that they have to stick with?
You never know, really. You just don't know, do you? Until you try it.
What would you accept moving to a bigger venue?
I wouldn't want to see it move. You know, I don't think it'll move in my sort of playing days. But like a lot of things in today's world, money talks. You know, if they can,
depends on demand.
I don't know if it would. I don't know, because of the atmosphere it creates. I don't know if you move it to a 2,500 seater arena. I don't know if it's going to have that same atmosphere. The Ali Palace did because it was London and it's the only tournament London has. And don't forget, once upon a time it was in the Wembley Conference Centre, which did hold 2,000. It used to fill out. So even though it was a big move for the Masters, it wasn't that much of a risk to move the World Championship to somewhere like China where there is lots of money. They never fill out auditoriums ever. So I think I'd rather play in a packed 1,000-seater stadium than a half-full 2,000-seater stadium. Do you know what I mean? There's still 1,000 people in there, but if half the seats are empty, it's not the same atmosphere.
It's like I said, if you look at the football terms, it's like when we moved to the Emirates. The Emirates doesn't have the same atmosphere as Highbury did. Highbury, despite how small it was, it had that historical crowd and atmosphere that you could feel throughout the whole stadium. You could feel all the fans that have been there. And
times change and things happen. Nothing lasts forever, and there will come a time when the Crucible no longer is fit for purpose. So you will have to find a new arena. They're actually talking, because snooker's synonymous with Sheffield. They're actually talking about building Crucible 2, exactly the same style arena but bigger to accommodate more fans, but keep the same intimacy, the same sort of setup, the same design, but make backstage better for corporate, which is where a lot of things are going, and that's why the Masters is also so good. It got lots of corporate.
That could be an idea there.
Yeah, it could be, but again, these things cost a lot of money and they take a lot of planning and a lot of time. But yeah, things do create a legacy. Highbury had a legacy. The old Wembley had a history, and but
Old Trafford has one.
Exactly, you've got to create new history. And you can only do that by moving with the times. So, like I say, it won't change in my playing days, but nothing lasts forever.
I think the only thing I will ask is snooker. I'd say in terms of the number of tournaments now, it's changed in so many ways. I mean, I bought a PS4 game for it. And trust me, even that ain't bloody easy. It doesn't tell you exactly where everything's going, so maybe it's a bit realistic in that. But yeah, you can see when you play maybe a career mode, is the number of tournaments that are included in the season, and then right at the bottom you've got the UK and the snooker and the world, the UK and the World Championship. There's so many tournaments all around the world now that you get to choose from when they used to.
There was pre-COVID, and we will get back to that. We will get back to that level again. Everything sort of took a hit during COVID, and the world changed for a couple of years. But it's taking time to get back to that level, because China, one of the few countries that are still not accepting that. We've got to live with it and whatever. But eventually, the Asia market will be back on. A few of the boys have gone to Hong Kong this week to play an invitation event, the top 6 in the world. So I think that's going to just showcase to China that these things are possible. And then once we do get back, go back to 2016, 2017, the snooker tour was buzzing. I think I flew. I think that year I flew to somewhere in Asia, mainly China, but other places as well. I think on 7 or 8 different occasions. And that's as well as 12, 15 events in UK and Europe. So, snooker was absolutely thriving pre-COVID, and it will get back there.
It will get back.
It's going to take another sort of 18 months, 2 years, I think.
Yeah, I think for me it's kind of I do another channel for this channel used to do both football and F1 content, and I separated the F1, put it on a different channel. And it's kind of like that when that hit COVID as well. It got limited to about 17 odd races, and then now it's slowly building back up to 22, and it's going to go to 23 and 24. How they're going to fit them all in, I don't know. So, but that's always getting bigger. So, but yeah, the amount of tournaments is you can see the amount of money and publicity is generating in snooker, and how many people wanted to watch it as well.
Because going back a few years before sort of Barry Hearn got back involved in snooker 2010, we had some real dark times, sort of 2004,
Mm.
5. There was like 5 or 6 tournaments, and for a snooker player, you know, I've always done all right. Like even in them times, I was high ranked, so I still earned some like decent money. But the money aside, it's hard to practice for like six weeks, turn up at an event, and it's always like a straight knockout. You know, there's no league format; it's straight knockout. You practice for 6 to 8 weeks sometimes in between tournaments. Turn up, have a bad day, or your opponent has a really good day, and you're dusted. And then you've got to go back and like do it all again for 6 weeks, and that's really disheartening. Whereas, you know, when the tour's thriving and we got tournaments, it's easier to accept losing and defeats because you know you've got to get straight back on and you're playing again the week after. So
Yeah.
I think that's one of the reasons why snooker levels have really gone through the roof. You know, people are playing better than they ever have done because there's no substitute for match practice. You know, that is the best way to sort of get your game up and get better. And
There's nothing better than playing against other professionals, isn't it?
Exactly, and people are doing that far more often than they ever used to. You know, you're getting far more used to like the TV setups and stuff, and it's just bringing out the best of everyone.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, playing someone that's on the same similar level is you can't beat that. So, but yeah, obviously we're coming to the end of the show. I'll give you like one last question in terms of Arsenal. Where if you're gonna decide where we're gonna finish?
I'm gonna say third.
Third.
We will third, and I think we'll win the Europa League.
Third, you think you won't Europa League? So all right,
I'll be happy
say
with
that.
I'll be well happy.
All right, nice. I'd say yeah. Do you know what? I'll go along with that. To be fair, third and the Europa League. I'd like to see that happen.
I think that's a good season. That's progress.
Yeah, it's definitely on progress from there on in. So, but for me, I've always said the bare minimum, even if we didn't win anything, is get into Champions League. That's what we need now. 100%. We need to get that in, especially with the amount of money. I think 380 million.
And with the start we've had, you know, if we're languishing in like 11th, 12th, then we could say it's going to be tough to get Champions League. But with the start we've had, there is no.
I would be seriously disappointed. I'd be seriously disappointed.
Will it be a massive failure now to not finish at least fourth after the start we've had?
Yeah,
would be a failure. Whereas, you know, last year it was still like, you know, a bit ambitious to hope for fourth. Whereas this year it's nothing but a failure after the start we've had.
Yep. Right. I was going to be doing the Arsenal Gossip Club guys at 6. I'll be putting that to next week because I need to rest up with his chest infection. Eugene, if you're still there. I'll let you know about half an hour before if I'm going to be live with you or not. But I probably might come off an hour just to wind you all up. Joe, again, thanks for coming back on. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on again.
Yeah, nice one. Yeah, maybe we'll have another chat at the end of the season to celebrate Champions League.
Yes, absolutely. I'll bear that in mind, and I'll get you on towards the end of the season. And after the end of the season, but obviously make sure you go and like support Joe in his snooker, and make sure like hopefully he can you never know, get to the Worlds and he wins the World Championship this season. So
yeah, it'd be nice to get there. It'd be nice to get there and play rather than commentate this year.
Obviously, definitely, mate. But yeah, make sure you hit the like button, you hit the subscribe button as well. And we'll be back tomorrow, where we'll be doing the watch along for the Arsenal game against Bodo Glimt. I managed to find a Bodo Glimt fan last night for my preview. So
proper research.
It took a while, but apparently it was only a channel with 18 subscribers, and it's the only channel there. So like AFTV were using him, everyone else was using him. So I managed to get in there quick before his time was taken up. So, but yeah, thanks to everyone that's watched and to Joe as well. And we're back tomorrow. Until then, take care. Bye bye.